Howdy, and welcome to the Choose a Happy Day show, a podcast for women who want to up-level their life, manifest those dreams, and just live happier. If you have vision boards, love energy work, are into psychics, and feel you are meant for something more in this life, then this show is for you. Hi, I'm Lorraine Toth, an award-winning filmmaker, author, Reiki master, photographer, and creative genius who also loves to vision board. And I am here to bring you all of the tips and tricks to help you up-level your life. Now let's go and hop on that happy train. All right, so welcome back to the Choose a Happy Day show. Today, I have a longtime friend as a guest, someone I've known for 19 years, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
Welcome, Samantha Parker.
Hi.
Hi.
So great to see you.
Yes.
I love the pink. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah.
We go way back.
Way back. I mean, I remember you with the double-decker bus and Betty's Cupcakes.
Yes.
Yes.
And I took your picture, remember? A long back in the day.
Yes. Yes. I actually don't even know if I had those anymore.
Oh, I probably have them on CDs. Like, that's how far back we go, guys.
Yeah,
like
CD.
back in the DVD and CD days.
Yes. It's so great. Mm-hmm.
So what have you been doing in these 19 years? What are you now? What is your title?
What is my title? So I'm a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
I am the heart behind the Heart of Homes at KW platform.
Yes.
Newly incepted only about 6 months now.
Aww.
And very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I've been a real estate agent on and off since about 2008, but
Wow.
full-time 2018 is when I really jumped in full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I guide people in building their wealth. Generational wealth through real estate is a real thing.
Oh,
I
yes.
encourage people to invest in their future and their and leave a legacy behind. There's a lot of things you can invest in,
Yes.
stocks, bonds, you name it. Real estate is a slow build.
It is.
And in our area, we have an opportunity to build equity. A lot of people don't realize that they probably are sitting on a lot of money right now, even on their homes.
Yes.
Which they
I'm
can
one of them.
which they can refinance and buy other property, or even just, sell and buy something else, So I help educate people what their equity is in their home so that they can take that and leverage it and move it forward.
Yes. Perfect. Love that about you.
Yeah.
But the reason she's here today, guys, is because I sent her basically, it was like a voice memo, SOS, and she replied with the most amazing and articulate response I've ever gotten. And I think it was my very first voice audio text that I've ever gotten. So I didn't even know how to open it for you, but it was basically a TED Talk. So that's why I asked her to be on this show today. And we can tell them why, if you want, and why you're here and why this all started, because I sent out my SOS.
Yes. Well, we all go through things, right? And in this life, we never know what curveballs are going to be thrown at us. We try to plan for what we want. We hope that things end up the way we desire, and things just don't. And so when I got your message, I was like, wait, we're going to take a pause.
Yes.
I need you to come back to earth with me just for a moment. Yes. And it's okay to feel the things that you're feeling. I think a lot of times our emotions get so out of control that they really need to be looked at as more of like an alarm system, if you will, because they can dictate very easily, and we can make poor decisions or we can get stuck in them.
Yes.
So I love sending voice memos because I think it's just, one, I don't like inconveniencing people. I mean, I love phone calls.
Right.
I actually prefer phone calls to text messages.
Yes.
And I prefer actually better than that being with someone, like belly to belly and seeing their body language and feeling them through what we're talking about. Right. And I find that my voice, I know that I have inflections, and I know other people do too. So when they hear us, it's almost like, oh, they're right here.
Yes.
Right. So I like doing voice memos with people because I think it's, one, they get to hear my voice, and two, it helps them, I think, because when you're reading a text, they get so misconstrued, right?
Yeah.
there's like so much more depth to a voice memo or a voicemail than say, you know, a text.
Yes. Yeah. And to clarify for you guys listening, so I basically sent her a message. I had recently ended a relationship that was over 2 years. And I was like, hey, is there any hacks to get over this relationship and move on and not be heartbroken? And she replied back, no, basically like just pause. Yes.
Pause and feel the feels. You know, we're so quick to be like, just make this go away, make this pain go away, make this suffering go away. But I have to say, like, even with my deep faith, I think that's where I found that feelings matter. We have to process our feelings. We have to understand where they come from. And then when we feel those feelings again, we know what it is and the cause of it.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times people push feelings away, or they don't want to feel icky, or they think crying is a sign of weakness. And also, like, women aren't supposed to get angry, and that's all BS. Like, let's face it, you know, in today's world, if you were to bottleneck all of those emotions up, you're only looking for an explosion, or worse, a heart attack or a stroke or something in the future, because how we feel and what's going on in our heads and all that stress, if we bottle that up, it goes into our stomachs, into our guts, and then it seeps into other parts of our body. And before you know it, there's some sort of thing going on that you have to deal with because the stress caused it. So if you let your emotions, if you process them, you let them flow, you let them out, it's actually so healthy for you.
Yes. And I can tell you now, 32 days in, she was right, guys. Like, sit with it, feel it. It does just slowly, you know, it gets a little easier day by day.
And get angry. It's okay. And it's okay to have multiple emotions at the same time. You know, you could be angry and happy and sad all at the same time. It doesn't mean you're a basket case. It means that, like, you're human.
Yes. Which that's a good thing, right?
Thing. Oh, yeah. You know, we were taught so early on, don't cry. And then somebody's running over with a tissue. No, let me cry.
Yeah, get it out. Emotions are trapped energy too, from like my Reiki master background, and like, get that out, right?
Yeah, just get it out. Yeah. It's healthy. It's absolutely healthy. So, and also, I think when we let our emotions out, we get to a state of absolute peace. I think crying is incredibly therapeutic. I think getting angry, if you know, clearly you don't want to project that onto other people or anything, but you do want to let it out, right? Like, and I think it's good to find healthy ways to do that. You know, for me, I like to do a lot of journaling. I like to do a lot of journaling and writing. I also need to move my body. I find that if I get stuck in my head, because I can easily do that. I am an overthinker. I process things very deeply. I'm very calculated about and very intentional with things that I do. And then I have set routines and systems. And so I can be that person that's super annoying, you know, to some. And then but I also know that with that discipline, it comes, I know that I can get stuck there.
Yes.
So I have to go move my body. I have to get the endorphins flowing, the dopamine. Hugs are really great. Being around people is really good. Smiling.
Yes. That's so good.
Even when you're crying, you're like, let me ugly cry and smile, right? Like, just all of the things that we need to be aware of so that we can process those emotions and start the healing process.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And then you and I had both talked about, and this is one of my questions, was giving up drinking. So we weren't numbing ourselves anymore. We were truly experiencing the emotions. So can you speak on that?
Oh, absolutely. So June 12th this year will be 2 years for me. Wow, so I'm working my way there. And truly it was a God moment. It was for me, so many things happen in a series of days. I had known that I wanted to stop drinking for a while. And for some reason, I was still stuck in this like rut, if you will. I had also not long ago, before that, had gotten out of a very long-term relationship and had to say goodbye to a little boy. And like a lot of things were very emotional. I had just lost both of my dogs. I was rekindling my relationship with my parents. And there was a lot going on, and I immersed myself in community, and so I had a lot of really positive reinforcement, but I was still stuck in this place of, but I'm just going to go drinking because, you know, I can and I can do this. Well, I would say there was all these signs, and I kept praying and journaling over it. And then the day that I gave up drinking, it was kind of like one of those moments where it was like my mind was finally made up, and it made me sick to think about it. And that's where I was like, I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired of this.
Yes. How bad do you want to feel good, right? Is what I always ask.
I was like, I think that this is the main problem. And I think God's trying to tell me that, like, if I just get rid of this one thing that's like a crutch, everything will start to fall into place.
Yes.
And I mean, it wasn't like I was a habitual drinker where I woke up in the morning and I was going drinking, but like drinking in the evening, happy hours, being around people, going and getting out of the house became like a regular thing.
Yes.
So for me, I would say sitting alone in the quiet and not having a drink.
Yes.
That's where the ugly work began.
It does. That's where you meet the skeletons in your closet, right?
Skeletons in my closet. There was no more running. There was no more hiding. And then I had to be okay not being okay. And then I had to look at all of my life and then face it head on, face those ugly, awful moments from my past, and stop pushing away what I needed to acknowledge. I needed to sit there and go, okay, you know, those things that happened to me were horrible, but here's what I did. Let me own those too.
Yeah.
And I almost did like a 12-step process for myself. You know, I didn't go to AA, but it was like with God and myself, I was able to sit there, pray over it, walk through it, feel those emotions, and then realize I needed to unnumb myself, because what I did was I buried so much stuff. And then that's where I discovered that there was all these other things that I needed to peel back the layers of the onion.
Yes.
To get to the core. And that's where I realized where the root of all of the things happen in my life. So not drinking, yes, there's all these health benefits, you know, clear-headedness, not waking up foggy in the morning.
And as we were just talking about weight loss.
We
love that part.
Yes. And you know what's funny is taking away like alcohol made me start thinking, what else can I take away?
Yeah.
How much cleaner can I eat now? How much cleaner? Oh my gosh, now I need to really look at all of the things I'm putting into my body or on my body or whatever the case may be. And then that became like, I'm like, no, don't go down that path. Like you can go down that path too quickly and too easily. But I will say the clear-headedness and then getting great sleep at night. And then I cut away caffeine and that I was drinking coffee all the way up until I was having wine. And I think it was all due to COVID, to be honest with you. It was, you know, we were coming out of such a dark time, if
Very
you will.
dark. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it just became like an automatic, you know? But once I took away the alcohol and the caffeine, I was like, oh, this is what real sleep feels like.
Hey, I look good. I don't have dark circles under my eyes, right? That's what I've been noticing.
Well, what's great is there's people I haven't seen in, I know we've known each other for 19 years. There's people I haven't seen for 20 years, 15 years. And when we see each other, they're like, you haven't aged a bit. And I can say, I started taking care of myself.
I'm not poisoning my body with alcohol anymore. Yes. I mean, it's real.
It's real. Yeah. And I have to say too, along with that, the anxiety disappeared. So the coffee and the caffeine made me more anxious. The wine was to sedate me, but then my body was like out of totally out of control, wild loop. And I would find myself, you know, falling asleep early, then waking up in the middle of the night, being awake all night, and then falling back asleep just before I had to wake up. Yeah. So sleep, I think, is, I mean, we could talk all about health, which is not why I'm here today.
No, we're here to talk about relationships, because I really don't get to talk to many of my guests about this. So I was like, she's perfect with her TED Talk.
But I will say the sleep and then taking away the things like, so that you can process emotions.
Yes.
When people numb themselves out, whether it be porn, whether it be shopping,
wine,
food, wine, we gravitate to something. We all do it. It's just figuring out what that thing is, being self-aware.
Yes.
And then that's where the true growth and transformation actually can begin. So for me, I mean, that was, you know, that was the pivotal moment for me. And then everything fell into line after that.
And it was almost 2 years ago?
Almost 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in June.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah.
Yay, congrats.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So let me get to my next question. Basically, you wrote about, and we talked about coming home to you and what does this mean? And you said it's not about defining myself with a label like this married or engaged Lorraine Toth.
Or even
I
single.
am Lorraine Toth, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, oh, are you married or single?
Yeah. Yeah. There's all these boxes. I feel like the world wants to put us in boxes in the sense of, okay, especially like when you go to like the doctor, you know,
that's such a trigger for me.
I
know.
Got to check all the boxes,
Yeah.
right? Even yesterday, when I was at the doctor's, I started crossing them off. I didn't even answer them. I started
do that next.
Yeah. I started crossing them off because I'm like, okay, one, I don't believe in this. You don't need to know.
Yeah.
I'm clearly a female.
Right.
I'm a woman.
Yeah. Like, does it really matter if you're married or single?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like if like, why do we have to be put into boxes? And so when I talk about coming home, it means being completely happy and joy filled and at peace, exactly right where you are. Exactly right where you are, because we can't change the past, and if we worry about the future, we're missing right in front of us.
Yeah.
And so that was also part of my exploration, was understanding that I can't seek value, validation, or favor from anyone else. And that came also through my faith, right? I mean, and trust me, even people at church, people are fallible. So anywhere and everywhere, I only know who I am, and it's between him and I. That's it.
Yes.
What everybody else says out there or thinks they want to believe about me, that's between them and him.
Right. You can't control that.
I can't control that. So here I am. Let me enjoy who I am. Let me enjoy who I am no matter where I go out there too. Because home, yes, it's a place, and we live in a home. We also came from a home. So if we're fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to go back to that home, great, meaning your parents, if they're still alive, wonderful. There's nothing that, like, being inside of those walls, that's a gift. No matter what happens in our lives, to be able to go back to that place is really, really beautiful. But what's even more beautiful is being able to find a special place, come to you. Yeah, come home to yourself. Be solid, be confident. Be confident in who you are.
Yes.
That whether a relationship came and went, whether there's a relationship in your future, whether you desire to be married or be a mother or, be a parent or adopt, whatever the case may be, whatever your thing is that you think you need, and I don't want to say you think you need, people have a deep desire.
Yes.
But it shouldn't come from external sources. It shouldn't come from societal pressures. It shouldn't come from your parents. It shouldn't come from any other pressure or place. It needs to be something that you find within, but also be okay if it's not happening yet.
Yes.
Right? It's okay because there's a reason.
Right.
I truly believe that. And I think one of my hardest struggles that I had to do was walk knowing that I'm 45 years old. I have never been married, and I don't have children. I've had 2 very long-term relationships, 2 times of actually being pregnant, and 1 time of being able to raise a child. And I have none of that now.
Yes. So you're like me. We blew our lives up, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I love where I am right now. Would it be nice to do life with someone? And, but I mean, wholeheartedly, like I did. Yes.
Yes.
Dating is an anomaly. It's, I've dipped my toes in the water, and I continue to, and I think that's the only way. I got to say, relationships are the best way to learn about you too.
Oh, yes.
And I think I said that
you did.
Yes. In my TED Talk, if you will.
You
did.
Yeah. She's like, okay,
TED
so
Talk.
What did you learn from this?
Yes,
yeah.
Because you have to be incredibly grateful and blessed that it happened. That person came into your life for a very specific reason. You may not be able to see it now. You may not see it for some time, but there is a reason. But if we can take just a little bit of time to acknowledge those things, maybe it wasn't so bad after all. Right. And it also helps us from finger pointing at them when we can just take ownership and say, you know what? I actually tried. And you should celebrate that you tried, because there's a lot of people out there that are scared of love that won't actually go try. They're so stuck in the rut, or they're not just scared of love, or maybe they're afraid to say that they're scared of love. There are people just stuck in patterns.
Yes. That was
patterns.
Huge. Yeah.
Yes.
And the safety and the security of the norm and what's,
yes.
that
and,
they're used to.
Yes. And some people think that the grass is greener on the other side. So they're scared of commitment. I mean, you never know why someone is who they are. But you also need to know who you are.
Right.
You need to know what you want. You need to know your own identity. You need to own that. And you also need to make sure you're not leaning into anyone else seeking that validation or looking for that love. Right. I look back at my long-term relationships and I think, wow, I spent a great deal of time with those people. I got to learn them really well. And here's the thing. They told me a lot of things that I needed to know about myself too. So relationships are like mirrors.
Yes.
And the sticky, gross, messy parts of the relationship are part of the time it's because we don't want to hear what they're saying. We don't want to hear what they're saying. I mean, but as I got older, especially over the past few years, I desire to be around people, not just my significant other. Everyone in my life needs to be able to speak truth into my life.
Yes.
I desire that. It's not because I think that I always want to be improving. It's just that I'm growing too. And if they feel comfortable to be able to do that with me, I want to be able to do that with them too. And so I think being able to communicate effectively
and authentically
with still having emotions, like you need to express your emotions, but there's a healthy way to do that. You have to process first. If you feel like you're going to blow up on someone, wait a minute.
Yes, that's always my thing. Like,
pull back,
put the gas,
put
the brakes on there.
Exactly, because words hurt. Sometimes they cut harder than finer and harder and create a scar. And you really want to be careful of that because you have to choose your words very carefully.
Yes,
and all we have in this life is time. And later in life, you don't want to look back and regret and say, oh my gosh, and just regret. I mean, there's so many people that I'm sure, especially on their deathbed, is like thinking, I wish I didn't do those things. I wish I made those wrongs right. And so when I think back to those relationships, I've gone to those people and just said, hey, I need some feedback so that I can learn, and be better for the next one. There's very few people. There's very few people out there that have met their love of their life. You don't hear it these days that they met in kindergarten, they got married after high school. It doesn't happen very often. And it's very rare that you find people who are engaged and that have long lasting marriages for 26 years today, right? They get engaged after 2 months of meeting. Yes. My parents are an anomaly. They were engaged after 3 months. They got married 3 months later. They've been together ever since. Now that's my stepfather and my mom. I mean, there are some people who do it, but trust me, I mean, that wasn't like puppies and rainbows. They had to walk. Yep. They had to work. And I think all relationships are work. And I think sometimes people get scared of them because they're like, this is too much for me. Or they have unrealistic expectations.
That's huge.
And it's like, listen, we're all a work in progress and none of us are perfect. And I think that takes a level of humility as well. People who have self-awareness, humility, their EQ, emotional intelligence is so much higher. And so I think that the past few years in not drinking, that helped me learn that. So coming back to home was all about understanding who I was as a person, how I interact with other people, and also figuring out my roadmap. What do I want?
What does Samantha want?
Who am I? What drives me? What motivates me? What gets my juices flowing? What am I excited about? And I think I'm still on that discovery.
You're still figuring it out? So I have to ask, did you make a list of your future partner? Or is that a thing of what you're looking for now?
Well, okay.
With the clarity, because you have the clarity. Yeah.
So of course I did that. I had done that. I have done that in the past. And I did it again this time. I did it again this time without seeing a face. I wrote down all of the wonderful qualities I desire in a partner. And someone told me that what I needed to do with that was to cross off them and write my name at the top. because if I want,
yes,
because
you are
who
what
I'm
you are
actually seeking
mm-hmm.
is who I need to become.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because we attract who we are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Like
And
attracts like. Yeah. It's the
yes.
law
And
of
so
attraction.
exactly.
Yes.
So like your ex found
Mm-hmm.
you found each other,
mm-hmm.
and there were things about each other that you
mm-hmm.
gravitated to because you were very similar.
Yes.
Right. There were things that drove you crazy because you were like, oh, that's so annoying. You know, why do they do that? You know, but they felt the same way about you. And compatibility is compatibility. But I will tell you, and this is part of the discovery that I'm on, is people who are compatible shouldn't just be together because they're compatible.
Right.
It's being aligned with a purpose.
So, yeah, the values have to align.
Have to align.
For
and so
future.
for me, what I did was I took that big list, but here's the top 4 things, like 4 things, right, that are really, really important to me. And one of them is faith. Faith has to be first. And I definitely think people of faith who have a foundation, not just people of faith, but when you have a foundational core belief, whatever it is, that is your unshakable, unbreakable, it's never going to change type of thing, because you can fall back to that. A relationship, you can not, it's rocky, right? But if you don't have like a core foundation, and I think of this in every arena of my life. I think how I show up in one area is how I'm gonna show up in others. So I made a list, not just of the person, because that really wasn't my focal point. When I truly went on a self-exploration journey, being in a relationship was furthest thing from my mind. The first thing in my mind was, how do I solidify my faith? What are the steps I need to do to be alone with God more often? And then I started looking around, okay, how do I make myself healthy?
Which you've done.
Right.
Totally.
How do I make myself healthy? In my brain too.
Yeah.
Because I have to say, you know, when our mindset is off, our behavior is off.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And is it possible to be perfect every day with it? No. Like, do I want to be like, I dressed up today because I knew where I was coming, but wouldn't have been nice.
She was with Barbie, so she dressed up.
I dressed up. But like, if wouldn't have been nice to be slouchy all day and stay snugly and warm because this weather. Yeah. By the way, when this airs, it's going to be beautiful out. I have a feeling. Yeah, it will. The days will be longer and whatnot. Yeah, I'm super excited about that. But yeah, how I show up in one area is how I show up everywhere. So then I started making a list of all the things that I needed to really take a hard look at, and then really dissect and go, okay, this year I'm going to improve in these areas, whether it be financially, whether it be in my business. I looked at every single thing I looked at, and then it reinforced that I needed to create better habits in all of those areas. And I think when we take care of us and fill our cup, how are we ever, we can't look to somebody else to fill our cup.
And that was, one of my questions.
Yeah. If we keep looking for someone else to fill our cup, or if we keep filling somebody else's cup and ours is depleted, how are we ever going to be in a healthy relationship with anybody, not just our significant other? How do we form good relationships at work? How do we form great friendships? How do we solidify with family? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that don't, like, I'm so grateful I was able to mend my relationship with my parents, because I was estranged from them, I should say, for close to 20 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time. But I'm grateful that we're like solid as a rock, and I get to learn more about them. Yes. And they get to learn me, and we spend time. But I'm great. Yeah. I'm grateful for that, but my heart hurts for people who haven't built a self-love for themselves.
Yes, and they are, that was one of my questions, just if you could just speak on how, when we ignore those signs for too long and then we're pouring from an empty cup.
Yes.
Yeah. And giving so much to others rather than ourselves. And that was one of the reflections I did when I was in November in Costa Rica. I was like, wow, I'm giving so much of myself.
Yes.
And the cup is just empty, empty, empty. I'm like, what am I giving to myself? And what about my values?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Your values, your time. I think, is there any like straight up simple mathematical equation that really helps people figure this out. No.
No.
Like there's no, and here's
There's
the
no
thing.
hacks. I already asked you guys.
I know. There's no hack, and it's not a one size fits all.
Yes, no.
I've had so many women. I've had people like, I'm the wise one of my friends.
Oh, I love that.
I'm the wise, even my mom, like, you know, there are people that just, the things that I can share and I give, but you know, one of the things that I'm asked is, well, what can you tell me that'll work for me? And it's not like that. I wish I could bottle up my journey and share it, but it was made for me alone. It was made for me alone. And, you know, some of the things that I've mentioned are just snippets of what you can try, but I would suggest that you start somewhere, whatever it is. If there's one aspect of your life to improve, find it, but first make sure that it's your self-love first.
Yes.
Self-love leads to you figuring out who you are. It leads to you finding out what kind of hobbies you like. Maybe that hobby will lead you to a relationship, you know, but
maybe you go play pickleball and then you meet your future partner on the pickleball court, right?
But don't do it because you're trying to find someone. Do it because you love it. You know, like that's what I've also noticed is there's a lot of people that fall victim to just pining and saying, well, if I do these things, then I'm going to meet someone. No, do the things you love first.
Yes.
Be around people that love themselves too, you know? And I don't mean that in a
conceited way. No, she doesn't mean it that way.
I don't mean it that way at all. I think some of the most wonderful people are people who know when it's time to retreat and take care of themselves. I mean, even Jesus knew how to do that. He was a miracle worker. He went and he healed people left and right. But when he needed rest, he retreated. He set that pace. I mean, you know, that for me is evidence enough that we should be allowed to take a break.
Yeah. Go binge watch.
Yes.
Like for me, it's my Hallmark movies.
But even in a relationship, tell your guy like, oh, I need Friday nights or Thursday nights, whatever, to binge my Hallmark movies. Friday nights for us, you know, and I guess that's what I'm getting at with like a formula. Like we just need to make sure we're carving out time, one for ourselves, and then we carve out time to be present in the moment with the people around us that matter to us.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
Okay. So my last question was, what is the number one roadblock that you see in other women, since mostly my demographic is women, on helping, like, how do they get their life upgrades? And like, what is that roadblock that you see over and over?
Upgrades. I think it's when you say upgrades, you mean
like upgrades. So they want to level up in their life, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. They're ready for like new business venture, or they want to,
like us. They want to blow up their lives.
Start over again. Yeah. Which is, you know, hey, listen, I applaud anyone who doesn't fear change. I'm a product of having to been forced ever since a very early age to start over. Start over again. My mom and I moved around a whole bunch of times. I am no stranger to starting over again. What I would say to women or anyone looking to start something new, an upgrade in their lives, or just try something new, is it's okay to have fear, but squash it as quickly as possible. And then just go, light a fire, build that fire within, and go. And I would say too, women are so prone to put other people before themselves and before their dreams and before their visions. And before they know it, they feel like so much time has passed. I know for myself, I put so much stock into the relationships I was in. I was in one for 8 years and one for 9 years. And you know, that's like almost 20 years of my life.
Yeah. It's almost 2 decades of your life.
It's almost 2 decades of my life. And we never got married. I thought for sure that we'd get married, but I stayed too long. If you have a feeling that it's time, don't waste it.
Yes.
Time is all that we have. There are so many people, and you can read up on this. You can hear very successful people, men included, talk about how much time they spent failing forward. And, you know, some people really look at failure as like, oh, it's such a bad thing. And actually, I mean, you kind of like, I don't know about you, but I mean, I've kissed a few frogs in my day.
Oh yeah. So many frogs.
Like, I know that every step of the way, though, I keep getting closer, because here's what I do
your
know.
prince.
Yes. Here's what I know. And I might not ever have a prince,
Right.
and I have to be
and
okay with
that's
that.
okay, because you are the prince. Like you are.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that's again, like I hold everything. It's so different for me, because I used to want to control everything and I planned everything. I hold everything now with an open hand. I walk and I absorb, and I let things fall through my hands that need to, and I hold on to the things that matter.
Yes.
Right. But what I would say is, people fear this failure, but it's really just all we've been doing our whole lives is research.
Yes.
All we've been doing is just gathering intel so that we can just make a different decision. You know?
Which you did after 2 decades, right, of research.
Yeah.
And me after 2 years of research.
Yeah.
And now we're walking a different path.
Walking
right?
a different path. And I think too, the self-discovery part is so huge, and you can still do that in a relationship. Here's what I do believe is that people change and grow through relationships too. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it tear people apart, but I've also seen them grow really strong and stronger together.
Yes.
And I think that the goal is, if you know who you are and you know you want to be in a monogamous relationship and you desire to have that one person for the rest of your life, because you know, here's what I know about that is, you can build a super kingdom when you do allow yourselves to grow individually, which is super healthy, grow individually and then collectively. And I think that sometimes the path, it should be parallel. Sometimes it's a little bit askew, but for the most part, you're going to be encouraging and changing each other forever.
Yes. You're lifting each other up.
You're lifting each other up.
So she's moving her
hands. I'm moving my hands, but you're
for
like
those
going
listening.
up and going together. Yeah. Because I mean, and not everything, honestly, I think about it, not everything is supposed to be the next big success. I mean, what if you both just want to be cool with where you're at? That's okay too.
Yes.
I don't think that we're always supposed to be achieving the next thing, achieving next thing. I would like to get to a place where the things are achieving on their own, and I'm just sitting there under a cabana drinking my drink. Well, not a drink, but you know, getting
a virgin
nice
pina colada
on the beach or whatever. And you know, so I think that there comes a time where maybe you do want to slow down, but as women, we're thinking about, I think, how to even start. Just start.
Yes.
Just start.
Yeah.
It gets
I agree.
And I think as women too, we complicate things sometimes.
We do. We get it too much in our heads.
Too much in our heads.
Like, when should I do this?
Well,
what
like women's boxes are like, it's like there's like a box and then a box and then a box. And then, you know, men, I mean, we're made differently for a purpose, right? We're made differently for a purpose and for a reason. And when we come together, it's actually really, really awesome. Right. And then there's sometimes where you're like, okay, I need my space. But for the most part, it's really, really awesome, because we should want people who are forcing us to see things that we didn't want to see, right? Because shoot, they were right. How annoying is it when someone's right? You're like, you're right.
You're right. Thank you for telling me.
But now I'm a better person for it. So thank you. And you should be doing that with each other. But at the same time, we can't, men are so simple in the sense of, we want to even complicate that sometimes. Sometimes I just think women, we just need to relax, pause.
Yes, like she told me in my TED talk.
Go. Yes. Yes. And then go. Don't
just sit with it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's their roadblock. Okay. So that's your TED talk on roadblocks.
Yeah.
And up leveling. All right. So now how can people get a hold of you if they want to follow you or talk to you or have like a house that they want to sell?
Yes.
How can they find you?
Oh my gosh. So thank you for asking, because there is, you know, first of all, I love what I do. And I think that there is so much value in helping people with their next phase and getting onto their next journey. Just as I'm passionate about helping people with, you know, whatever it is going on in their life. I feel like financial freedom is one of the largest ones that it should not be slept on. So you can find me at SamanthaParkerAlbany.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook.
Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram.
What's the Instagram handle in case they want to stalk you?
Samantha Parker, I think, _Albany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to link it in the show notes too,
yes.
so they can DM you or whatever.
Yeah, but you can call me 518-209-7539. You can call or text.
Nice. Yeah. She likes phone calls.
I do. I like phone calls. I like chatting it up. You know, I get weird texts sometimes and I'm like, yep, delete. Like, no big deal. Yeah. But it is what it is.
It is. And I feel like it's important to let them know that you have empathy, like you actually care, you know, with home transactions. It's not just another number. You recognize this is part of their life.
It's part of their lives. I have people that I've prayed with inside the homes. I have people who have, I mean, they've been at their wits' end because they're struggling and going through a divorce. I've been with people who have lost a family member and with them in their deepest pain, crying, you know, everybody's got a story and everyone's hurting. And that's why I do believe kindness goes so far. Now that is to be said again, fill your cup, set your boundaries. But I believe that there's a way to be with people. In everything that we do, I think a spirit of excellence requires self-discipline and also kindness and patience. And a lot of people consider me calm in the chaos of real estate because any given thing can happen during the course of a transaction. Including the person's emotions, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, some of those things, I mean, it has to be, it's not a transaction for me. I've gotten invited to weddings, to bar mitzvahs, to baby showers, because there's an element of you helped us start our lives here.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've seen your pictures of like first time home buyers. You know, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah. It's the biggest purchase someone makes. And there's a lot of nuances to it. And I think the biggest thing is just, is having the patience to walk through it. And having been a first time buyer myself, I understand that there was a lot of things I didn't know. And I just wanted to make that easier and smoother and, you know, more stress-free for people. And also in today's world, I mean, I remember during the pandemic, helping people buy homes that they didn't actually get to see.
Right.
And they trusted and valued me with their purchase, and they still live in their homes today. They love them.
Good sign.
It's a good sign. But when they finally moved in and they were able to move in, they were just overjoyed. Yeah. And they were so happy it all worked out. Yeah. And so like, I don't share that to be like, oh, good job, Samantha. I share that because I'm so appreciative of that trust. It's such an honor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you don't take that lightly.
No.
So that's why I felt it was important to say that. I just see you as having such a strong moral compass, and that empathy piece. So if someone's looking for a realtor that has that, it's definitely Samantha.
Yes. And I will be honest with you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need that. Don't buy this house.
Don't buy this house. This is not a good investment.
No. Yeah. But the first time home buyers need to know that.
Yeah, they do need to know that. Yeah.
Well, I will link it again in the show notes for you guys so you can get a hold of Miss Samantha.
Thank you.
Yes, and I love that you crossed off the boxes. I'm going to start doing that at the doctor's
Don't
office.
Put me in a box. Yeah, or I don't believe that. Like, I'm a woman. I am a woman.
Yeah. I'm going to start doing it.
So one of the things I think people get hung up on is they are stuck living in the past because there's some nostalgic feeling from how that relationship was. And they forget that the information's changed right before them. So they're not living in the moment and taking the information as fact. They're holding on to what was.
Like a memory.
Yeah. And they're like, well, can't we go back to that? Can't we go back to that? Well, if you're not communicating or your partner has said, no, things are different now, or here's how I'm feeling, we cling on to the past, but it's really hindering us from our future because maybe we need to close that door or let that door close so we can move on to the next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and we were talking off air about like, okay, so the relationship ended. maybe you can go back together and get back together, or maybe not.
Yeah.
Right. But not to get stuck on that hope.
Yes. Don't get stuck on the hope, because if you do that, then you're really still living in the past.
Yes.
You have to live present in the moment with the information you have as truth today. Facts are facts. Yes. Right. And when we disillusion ourselves and we change the narrative, it's only because it's our hopeful desire that it's going to end up the way we want it.
Yes.
But if we're not holding it with an open hand going, listen, I'm just going to trust the journey and the process, and I'm not going to sway for an outcome to be, then we're not manipulating ourselves and we're staying true to ourselves. And also we're allowing other doors to open. Right. Because it's very possible. I've met people who fell away from each other and years later got back together and remarried. And it's a beautiful story, right? It's wonderful. Is it for everyone? I don't know. Here's what I also have learned. I used to say never, like, oh, I'll never go back and forth. I don't want a back and forth relationship, which I actually do think it's not healthy. I think that if you're consistently within a shorter period of time, getting back together, breaking up, getting back together, something's wrong. Okay? Right.
Yeah. There's some red flags.
There's some red flags there. There's like, you can't, momentum is momentum and you need to grow with that. You can't let it halt you, because that is actually, that creates like stress and anxiety and it's undue. It's not just unnecessary when both parties are in love or working in love, and they actually flourish. It's proven. They flourish individually and collectively in all facets of their lives, right? With the back and forth, it just... it just, I just get the heebie-jeebies. My whole stomach just felt...
Mel Robbins says give it 30 days in her book, Let Them. So
let them.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. When you let them go, if they don't come back,
it wasn't meant to, right? What is the analogy? If you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it was meant to be. If not, it wasn't for you.
Yes.
Right.
But don't cling on to the hope that it's supposed to come back. Yeah. Because then you can be hindering yourself. We were talking off air about how, be grateful that it happened. And when a door does close, that just means something better is ahead. Yes. It doesn't mean you don't know what it is, and that's okay. Don't we all want to know everything?
We do. That's why I go to my psychics.
Yeah. You
want to know. No, but you don't know.
You don't know. But something better is ahead. For me, my faith tells me there's a purpose and a reason for a season. And so in that season, learn, be humble, stay hungry, eager to learn, and everything will present itself as it should.
At the right time.
At the right time.
Yeah, you can't force it.
Can't force anything. No. Can't force anything. And then when things naturally collide, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah.
I look forward to that conversation in a future podcast with you. When we both have the beautiful collisions of life.
But again, I'm not going to live my life.
No, you're not.
Yeah. I'm not. I am who I am and I'm on a path, and should it happen? Wonderful. But it doesn't define me.
Yes.
And it shouldn't define you either.
It's not. And thanks to you, after we did our TED Talk voice memos, I was like, because I had this whole white picket fence dream in my head and on my vision boards. And I was like, you know what? We're just going to pause on that. So now I've committed to traveling to a different country every single month this year and next year. That's awesome. I've already booked the trips.
That's awesome.
So because of that, I'm just following a different path.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're making it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all have that voice inside. We have to listen to it.
Yes.
We do. Whether we like the information it's telling us or not, we have to listen to it. And when we do, really beautiful things do start connecting and happening for us. I truly believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. Trust yourself and be like, because when you know something and you don't trust yourself and you don't listen to yourself, what kind of message are you sending to yourself, right? That what you say doesn't matter.
Right.
All right. So thank you so much for Samantha being here. And remember, everyone, happiness is a choice. So choose a happy day. Yes. Thanks. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. To stay connected to me, please visit my website at chooseahappyday.com. And at the bottom, just sign up for my email list to be notified of any upcoming events, book launches, as well as new podcasts. Until next time, have a happy day.